Oh,
Hello, everybody.
hello.
Thank
Hello.
you. Thank you for attending today's podcast on Pettit's maintenance, best maintenance practices. We appreciate everybody being on here today and watching the video at a later date. If the participants could please make sure they're on mute. And when we go to question and answer period, you can either raise your hand or put it in the chat and then we'll get to you. So just want to also let people know that we've scheduled out the remaining three podcasts to happen between now and end of the year. And so be on the lookout for that so you can sign up for those. Registration is open for all three. So again, appreciate everybody being on, and I'm going to pass it over to Scott, who is going to be our main speaker for today. And we'll pass it to him. And thank you very much.
Awesome. Really appreciate that, Jay. Thanks everybody for coming. So I'm going to share some things here, but we thought this would be a good time for our third webinar to just talk about some of the basic preventative maintenance, periodic maintenance that the petted equipment, but also some of the other equipment at your wash need to have taken care of. So one of the things I'm going to kind of show everybody right now is that, maybe make sure I hit the right button. Sorry about that, guys. That would be this maintenance checklist that comes with all Petits. Older Petits, this was in the manual. Newer Petits, this is in the manual, but it's also a digital copy on your desktop. But this is also available for us to send out at any time for any of you guys out there. But this is our basic maintenance schedule, and it kind of goes over what should be being done to the petted equipment on a daily, weekly, monthly, and then semi-annually basis. For most customers, I recommend that semi-annually basis be fall and spring. So a lot of us have the winter months, the salt. We want to get our equipment in prime condition going into those busy winter months, and then after those winter months, check it out and see how it did. So you're going to kind of see those broken down again daily, weekly, monthly here, and then that semi-annually. So we're going to kind of go over those, and I'll bounce through some pictures that I got as well to kind of help illustrate those. So I am going to jump that one off and show you something else, and I'll be reading along with that and then showing some pictures. So give me a quick second here. Bingo, bango. Look at us. We can do technology. So the very first thing on that list was verify auto cashier displays welcome message not closed or car wash busy. So obviously that's the thing that takes the money, and we're not making money if that thing's in a faulted state, frozen touchscreen, bill acceptor's not taking money, receipt printer's not working. So all those things that could make it hard for our customers to put money into the cash till, we want to make sure. So one of the very first things we should always check is the cashier taking money ready to go. We're going to look over the wash bay equipment for damage. You guys know your washes better than anybody. You're going to know if something looks out of pace. Is a drain backing up? Is there a broken spring on a garage door? Is there a piece of wallboard hanging? Whatever that is. So just do a visual inspection of the wash to see how things are going. The next thing on that is going to be inspect the 360 T-bars. So the T-bars, there's a driver side and a passenger side. With these things should be parallel to the wall, to the legs, so they shouldn't be cocked one way or another. But also they shouldn't be loose. They shouldn't, there's going to be a little bit of that leverage effect where the longer one wants to do that. But I think a lot of you guys know the difference between something that's loose and something that just has that lever effect. So we want to make sure nothing has gotten loose. If it is loose, there is a bolt right here in this red arrow that can be tightened down to cinch that up. Again, there's just an alignment peg with a little bit of play. So when you do cinch that up, you might need to take a couple measurements just to make sure that that T-bar is square so that you're seeing the other one properly. We're also going to inspect the 360 equipment for air, water, and chemical leaks. So common places you're going to look for those are in the E-chain, on the E-chain on the bridge, and then the spray arms themselves. Now, there's a couple ways to do this, but I'd say the easiest way to do it is utilizing our test wash or maintenance wash functions. The way that works is I'm going to jump out of this for just a quick second and jump into one of our washes here. So if you're here on your HMI and you click the top up here and you go into maintenance menu and then you go to maintenance washes. So if the machine is in the on run position, you guys can actually run any of your washes in what's called a wet wash, no vehicle. So the wash will pretend it's washing like a Mini Cooper or Miata or something. This can be very handy to try to find those leaks. So you click this, you start a fake wash or a ghost wash, as some of you tunnel guys will know it as, and then you can stand there in the bay and look, ooh, something's spraying during the triple foam and the E-chain. I need to go check that out and see what's going on. The next thing that it tells you to do is inspect the FDM or fluid distribution module for leaks, proper pressure. The air should be set to 75 to 90 and the LP pump to 200. Now, got some arrows here. So this is that air gauge that we're talking about. It's the little label tells you the recommended settings as well. So this is just regulating the main air pressure to all of our air solenoids. As a lot of you know, there are some secondary regulators up here where you can fine tune the specific application. Triple foam, foam waterfall, air, top and side air injects to get the correct foam you're looking for. And then down here, this other red line, that's the low pressure. So we want to set your chemical low pressure delivery to just at 200 psi. Now, the way you do that is you would go to the test wash screens and turn on, the best way to do it is pre A1, B1, the two pre-soaks. That's usually one of the highest demands. Some of the guys out there with foaming rain arches, you can do the foaming rain arch because it's also a pretty high demand as well. But you want to turn the pump on to its highest demand and then adjust the pressure up to that 200 with those running. So when you're asking how do we set that 200, we turn on a high demand application, and then there's a T-handled device on the low pressure chemical pump that as you tighten it down, the pressure will go up. Next thing, we're going to verify that the cat oil on the high pressure pumps is clear. It's got a bluish tint to it. It shouldn't be milky or anything like that. That's the indication of water. And that level should bisect this red dot here. So it's a little hard to tell in the picture here, but that's air there. And then you have the bluish oil here, and it's bisecting that red dot to tell you if it's full. Now, for some of you guys, you might need a little inspection mirror, a little inside baseball cool trick. I've seen it, some really smart guys washes out there. They take a little piece of 3x3 square mirror and glue it to the wall behind their pump station. So they don't actually have to get an inspection mirror out there to inspect that oil level. They can just look, shine a flashlight at the mirror, it reflects, and you see that. So some of the smarter guys than me out there are doing that. They're gluing a little piece of mirror on the wall behind this pump so that they can see this. So again, that is the first of the weekly options. So before, the daily options were verify the cashier, inspect the bay, inspect the T-bars, inspect for leaks, check the FDM for leaks and proper pressures, verify the cat oil is at the dot, and then wash a vehicle. We always want to wash a vehicle to make sure everything's working good. Now we're going to get to our weekly things. So the weekly things are all the things we did daily, but some more options as well. The next thing we want to do is test the impact sensors. You can test those impact sensors from the screen. Again, I'm going to jump out of here. We go to our HMI, we go to the test wash passes screen, and we can do these tests here, start photo eye test or impact sensor test. Now these will put it into maintenance mode, so it's important to know if it is in service and you start either of these tests, it will transition into maintenance mode. Going back real quick, on the front of this cat pump weekly, there are three little spots where there's little plastic caps with holes poked in them. Old school guys might remember we used to have oilers on our pumps back then, but the oilers are so hard to keep working. So those little caps that are in there aren't just for show or protective. We've actually poked a little hole in them. And if you fill those caps up with oil, that's going to lubricate the wicks. So weekly, the cat pumps should have their wicks with a few drops of oil added to it. That's on the front side of this pump here. I'm sorry that I don't have a picture of that, but that's on the front side of this pump. Again, we also want to test the impact sensor and photo eyes weekly. Just for those that you don't know, the impact sensors are on the breakaway here, and then the photo eyes are going down the T-bar. Again, you can do those on the test wash pass screen. Also, when we were talking about setting those pressures, we can do that up here as well, A1, B1, to run that high volume demand for our chemical pump. We again want to verify our spray arm covers are secure. So weekly, we want to check to make sure these spray arm covers aren't getting loose. There's a 9/16 headed bolt down here, brass bolt, that you want to make sure to tighten the bottom. And then the top has 2 bolts up here on a slot as well. Again, we always want to run a test wash. And now we get to some monthly things. So under our weekly, we say the first week of each month, do these items. Those count as monthlies. So the first of those monthly items is to wipe the air cylinder exposed rods with a clean, damp towel and apply Molykote 55 O-ring grease. So I'm going to jump ahead real quick because my last slide has the grease. But you guys all should have came with some grease. I apologize for my terrible presentation skills there. So when we talk about that Molykote 55 grease, there's 2 tubes that kind of look the same. One will say 55 O-ring grease, one will say dielectric grease. So we're looking for that white grease when we talk about that 55 Molykote grease. Now what we'll need to do to apply that is we need to extend these cylinders, because then we want to wipe down any residual grease that's left over, any debris that's on those, and apply some new grease on those. That'll keep these wiper seals and O-rings protected. Now, in order to extend those, because we normally keep those rods tucked in during idle time so that water spots don't start to rust the cylinder. So when your wash is sitting there waiting for a car, those cylinders are tucked in. Both of those rods are tucked in. The easiest way to make them extend is to hit this rotate arms to rear of car, and then they will fully extend both sides so that you can wipe them clean and apply new grease. Next weekly item that you're going to want to take care of is the 7 grease fittings on the machine. So we send the machine with a tube of calcium sulfonate marine grade grease. That tube is going to last you a long time because we recommend a single pump of grease once a month. So a lot of you guys that might be used to, grew up on a farm. When you grease the plow or the brush hog or anything, you pumped grease into that thing until all the old grease, water, dirt came out and you saw new grease. Our bearings aren't like that. If you start to see grease, you pump grease out, you've actually broke the seal, which will allow water to get back in. So it's actually better to not grease our bearings than to over grease them and break the seal. So our recommendation is 1 pump of grease once a month. And that should be a calcium sulfonate or marine grade grease. So where are those 7 grease fittings? Some pictures here. There are a total of 7. There are 2 on each trolley. So as you can see them here, this is a trolley. And you can see there's 1 grease fitting here and 1 grease fitting here. That's mimicked on the other side, on the other trolley. And then there are 3 on the main bridge motor, that long shaft that goes the full width. In this picture, you can see the one right here by the motor. My next picture here, this is the bridge junction bay side, and you can see the other 2 grease fittings are here. Again, those should be greased once a month with a single pump of grease. And then the last thing you should do monthly at this time would be to titrate your guys' chemicals. So again, we can go back and look at this here. So this is where we could fire our different chemicals to run our titrations and make sure that we're not underusing chemicals, overusing chemicals, getting the car clean the way it should be. So from this screen here, which is called the test wash pass screen, you can do all those manual fires so that you can do your titrations once a month. And then the last thing that I know a lot of us aren't doing is wiping down all of our plastics. So that could be signage, that could be the bridge cover graphics, that's your bollard covers, that's your dryer producers. All of those plastics, that's photo eyes, all those plastics, we recommend you take a rag and some WD-40, spray the rag with WD-40 and wipe all that. We want you to wipe the photo eye lenses, we want you to wipe all the signage, all that stuff I just named. 2 things it's going to do. WD-40 is a solvent cleaner, so it's going to clean those plastics up pretty nice. but it's got an oil base to it, so it will repel water. So as you're using this to clean and make those look nice, it's also leaving behind just a tiny bit of a film of water repellent. That's going to keep it off photo eyes, off all these plastics, and keep them staying looking better longer. So that completes the end of the daily, weekly, and monthly. Now we get to the semi-annual, that every 6 month thing. This is going to take a few hours per bay to do properly. If you're really trying to do this the right way, you're going to try to find that rainy day and you're going to try to knock out 2 or 3 hours to get these items done. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the cord set connectors from all proc switches and photo eyes. So when we say that connector, we mean that little M12 barrel connector down here. So we're going to remove that from all the photo eyes and proc switches, and we're going to apply a little, just a dab of the dielectric grease in there and put it back together. That's going to, the removal is an inspection. So we're seeing, are there any corroded pins? Do we have a broken pin? Do we have a bad cord? But B, we're applying that dielectric grease to prevent corrosion, to prevent broken and water intrusion. So twice a year, every 6 months, we want to pull all of our cord sets off, all our barrel connectors off, and apply a very small amount of dielectric grease. We want to open up all of our junction boxes. A, we're looking for the presence of water. B, we're going to tighten the cord grips while we're there. So we're just going to grab all these cord grips by hand and make sure they're tight. And C, we're also going to check the heat tape, this orange tape. So all of the Petit junction boxes are heated. And this is to keep them above ambient temperature. As you may or may not know, if the air temperature is above ambient temperature, water will not condense into liquid. So by us heating the box, it keeps that moist air that's going to get into these boxes. We just can't stop it. It keeps it in the air so it goes in and it goes out. It never condenses within the box. So we want to check these heaters to make sure that they are working so that it keeps that environment proper to keep the water out of there. But again, we're going to check for any water, we're going to check the heat tape, and we're going to snug up all our core grips while we're up there. We're going to take and inspect the condition of all of our electrical cables, hoses, and fittings. So this is obvious wear points where things might transition from the equipment room or out of the attic. We're going to look at our main E-chain that's running down the passenger side of our equipment. But we're also going to look at the smaller E-chains up on the equipment. We're checking all of our hoses, cord sets. We're looking for signs of abnormal wear, hoses starting to fray, anything broken, anything messed up, any of those kind of things. So if we can get ahead of it, if we see a hose starting to rub, but it hasn't rubbed through and burst yet, well, we're not down yet. We can, hey, I need to get a replacement hose for there, get it replaced on a rainy day. It's not going to burst while you're 3.5 hours away trying to camp or enjoy some time with your family. So we're trying to get ahead of that, preventative maintenance, looking for any abnormal wears on electrical cables and hoses that are going to give us problems later when we don't want them. We also want to inspect the condition of the drive wheels, rollers, rails, bearings. We're looking for, loosey-goosey stuff. So again, if you start to see anything abnormal and we're starting to wear one side of a wheel or the inside of a groove of something, that's our indication of saying, hey, we need to figure out why this is happening before it causes us downtime later. We're looking for any loose fasteners. So all the fasteners on a Petit are one of two things. They're either a bolt with a nylock or it's a bolt with some kind of Loctite on it. So we do our best, but eventually, unless you use that really good Loctite where you got to bust out the torches to get it off, it is still going to loosen up and you have to sometimes reapply some Loctite and check things. So we're checking for loose components, spray arm covers, but we're going to pull the spray arm covers off. We're checking for loose components in there, whether those are rod ends, bearings in the spray head, those kind of things as well. If we need to, we're going to apply Loctite and tighten anything or replace any worn out components at that time. Next thing we're going to do is we also every 6 months want to lubricate the components of the breakaway, the Petit self-resetting breakaway. So when we talk about using that silicone spray on the V groove and moving parts of the breakaway knuckle, that V groove we're talking about is up in here. So this is one V groove, but then the one its resting place is up here. So you kind of have to have somebody break it away. You kind of want to clean that area and then apply some silicone lubricant on this. This is the knuckle. There are grooves on the sides to where when it breaks away, but the main groove you're trying to clean is the one that's in its resting position that's under here and under here. So you want to clean that out. and apply any of that silicone spray. So, and back when we were talking about cleaning, applying dielectric grease, this would be one of those proc switches, what we would pull off and apply that dielectric grease as well. Now, it's listed as optionally on your guys' list if you're following along, but I don't really consider it optional. It's apply anti-corrosion coating to all motors. We send a can of fluid film or wool wax. This should be applied to your door motors. This should be applied to the motors on the Petit. This should be applied to your dryer motors. Um, is it sticky? Yes. Is it your guys that are going to have to work on it? They're going to want to wear gloves. But what it's going to help out with, you're not going to be breaking bolts off of peckerhead or motor electrical boxes. All those components that normally just corrode and become impossible to work with, you're not going to have those issues. That protective wool wax, that protective fluid film is going to keep that water off there. It's a little sticky, so it's going to grab some dirt, but it's going to keep that off that. So every 6 months, we do recommend you go around and cover all your motors that are in the bay. So that's dryers, doors, and the Petit with just it's a spray-on product, fluid film wool wax. Same thing you might do on the bottom of your truck or something like that. Every 6 months, we want to check our high pressure pumps. So we can do that from the test wash screen again. From this screen, we can run top, sides plus tall vehicle. And then we have some suggested speeds here. So what we're looking for is if I run the top and I set that manual speed to 53, I want to see between 1,000 and 1,050 PSI here. If you start to see 1,100 or more up here, it will run, but what happens is you're tickling pretty close to the high pressure alarm. And we have very, very sensitive pressure transducers that literally measure every time those pistons go like this, we see the spikes. So sometimes what might happen is just a fluke or whatever, we see a spike that it goes above that high pressure alarm, we're going to shut you down. So our recommendation is going to be 1,100 at the manual gauge on the pump, which will then read around 1050 here. And again, you'll utilize the recommended speeds to check that pressure. If you notice that that pressure is low and it shouldn't be, most likely you may be using some really nasty water and it might be starting to tear up the nozzles. Usually there's some extra into the pump, so you can just adjust the regulator up. But just know that if you do that a couple times, eventually we'll run out of volume and we will probably need to address the nozzles at that time. Changing the cap pump oil, we just recommend you do it once a year. So once a year, change that cap pump oil. It's actually meant to be done every 500 hours of operation. If you actually measure, how often those things run, we're talking about they run 1 minute per car, so you take 500 times that by 60, it's basically every 30,000 cars. So basically once a year, or if you see the oil become milky in your monthly inspections, you'd want to change that cat pump oil. And then for those of you that are in cold climates, you'll want to test your weep out, test your doors, keep all that up and running properly. Now, again, if you're having trouble ever finding any of those oils and greases and stuff, again, the same thing you got with the machine, you're able to order from us as well. Will be a little QA here in the end, but before I jump into that, I want to talk a little bit about a few other items that aren't the Petit that you may or may not be doing some maintenance on. Dryers is a big one. So a lot of people may or may not know that there is an inspection for the dryers as well. So I have Premier's inspection pulled up here. And so for Premier dryers daily, they want to visually inspect the blowers for any debris or obstruction and listen for any vibration or noises that are out of normal from day-to-day use. In most cases, vibration is from debris buildup on your wheel or that the motor bearing is or has failed. If you have debris buildup on the wheel, remove the housing and scrape the debris with a wire brush or scraper, wipe away clean with rag and soapy water, and reinstall the housing. So daily, we should be, as part of that, running a test wash, also listening and kind of looking at our dryers. Monthly for Premier, they want you to check for any loose bolts on the blower system. So this is going to include the housing, the back plate, and the wheel for any loose fasteners. If you find loose or missing bolts, this is typically a sign of excessive vibration within your blower. In most cases, this is again from buildup or a bad motor bearing. So during these inspections, we'll want to look for all that, and we'll want to clean the wheel at that time as well. Quarterly inspection, we want to check voltage and amp readings on all the producers, remove the housing, and inspect all components for visual failures. If you detect the problem above, please contact your distributor, or for any electrical issues, please contact your licensed electrician. And then for recommended cleaning, they say to use just soapy water or household cleaners, just mild cleaners to rinse them off. For Tom's personal washes, we usually monthly just grab the same hose or pressure washer we're using to clean the bay and clean the grate and the exposed wheel. And then we do our more in-depth inspections on those semi-annually. So that's for the dryers. Some other things that you may or may not be thinking about when you start to do your inspections are some of the other equipment that you have. So we talked about the dryer, we talked about the Petit equipment. Let's talk about doors. Are we checking our photo eyes for the doors? Are we running the doors up and down even though it's July and August? Are we greasing any grease fittings that are on the shaft or openers of our doors? So again, are we cleaning our doors? You know, running them all the way down and cleaning them to get all that debris. So all that dirt and debris that gets on there, it's excessive resistance and it's excessive weight on your door. So we want to make sure we're checking our doors out. You know, maybe it's monthly or in semi-annually. You know, monthly we're going to run the door up and down, give it a rinse. Semi-annually we're going to check photo eyes. We're going to check grease fittings and those kind of things. Air compressor maintenance. What are we doing to our air compressors? When are we changing the oil? When are we inspecting the belts? How tight are they? Are they wearing out? When are we checking the pop off to make sure the pop off works? When are we checking the amperage to the motor in order to make sure that we don't have a motor or a air pump that's starting to go bad? So again, daily, you probably want to look at, you know, an oil sight glass, listen for any unusual noises or vibrations, check the safety, drain water out of it. Monthly, you might want to check the belts. And then, you know, semi-annually, that's maybe where we want to check the air filter, change the compressor oil, do those kind of excess checks. Some of you guys might have reclaim systems on site. So we probably want to make sure we have some maintenances for our reclaims. Are we doing daily filter changes? Are we doing semi-annually pump inspections? Do they have UV light? Do they have bubblers? Do they have chemical treatments? All those things. So if we don't have it, we might want to recommend looking at our manufacturers for our reclaim systems and checking those as well. Water, softeners. Are we testing for hardness? Your chemical guy would love to hear that we're all testing for hardness daily or weekly. Are we testing for chlorine in our carbon filters before they go into the RO production units? Chlorine will eat an RO membrane and turn it into Swiss cheese. So we should be testing daily or weekly for for chlorine coming out of the carbon filter. And then our vacuums. If we got vacuum on site, we want to do some checks on those. So that kind of completes all the goodies that I want to go over. So I would like to take this opportunity though to open things up for Q&A. Give me a second to get this all done. I'm going to stop sharing here. And then I'm going to take a look at what we got going on here. If anybody wants to raise their hand or start talking. I do see we got one in there. Is there a maintenance program offered by Petit technicians or partners for remote operations? So what you would probably, if I think I've got this question correctly, what you're probably asking for is like almost like a preventive maintenance program. I know most of the ASPs that install our equipment have some kind of a thing like that where they can come at whatever cycle you want them to come. Maybe you want them to come monthly, or maybe you take care of everything and you want them to come semi-annually. So I would look for your local authorized service provider that installed the equipment and see if they offer a maintenance program. Jeff, I see. Making sure I understand correctly on setting pressure. You said fire A1 and B1 to set it. Book just shows A1. Appreciate you the feedback on the book. I'll get that corrected. But yes, for showing that pressure, you would want to have both A1 and B1 running at the same time and set the pressure, because that would give you 200 PSI at one of the highest demands. can see. I think I gave everybody the right to talk, so if anybody does have any questions, feel free to chime in and talk or raise their hand. I don't see any. I knew this would be a little bit of a smaller one, but I know some some maintenance have been there's been some questions about maintenance out there. So we wanted to take this opportunity to throw something together, have some pictures, have a little talk, just to get everybody on the same page on kind of what the expectations are daily, weekly, monthly, and semi-annually for the maintenance. Looks like we got another one. Is there a maintenance slash repair seminar we could send someone to? So we do training, free training here at Petit Auto Wash. I actually do the training here for us. We're gonna hope for next year to set up some dates and times for people to kind of go in. But for right now, how it would work would you reach out to us, whether it's the sales or me directly, Scott Robertson, and we would see what kind of training are you looking for because we try to tune the training to who's coming. So are we looking for that ASP install level training, operator level training, troubleshooting and maintenance training, and then how many people are coming? And we would schedule around you guys. So, yeah, definitely reach out to sales1@petitautowash.com with a little bit of what kind of training you're looking for, how many people, and maybe what time you want to go. And then we can respond back to some available training at that time. James, is there a maintenance software out there to track maintenance? Currently not a Petit specific one, but there are a variety of third-party ones out there that different people are using. So right now, not for the maintenance. It is something we're looking at adding to future upgrades to the unit. Having a customizable maintenance schedule where you could literally put everything in and it sends you reminders through the Petit for those maintenance schedules, but currently we do not. But I do know there are quite a few third party options out there that do where you could incorporate multiple pieces of equipment. Tunnels are real big about this because they might have a maintenance schedule for Sunny's X and NCS Y and dryers B, and it incorporates all that into one program. Any suggest my suggestion would just be off name. I think there's like maintenance X or something like that, but not any that I personally used that I could suggest from personal experience. Give a few more minutes if anybody has any questions specific.
And then for the group, you can check your chat. And I have the email in there for the training inquiries.
Absolutely.
Also have the registration for next month's webinar. And also have the link to where the recordings are for all these webinars, including this one today, will be up there so that if you need to refer to those, you can go to the Pettit YouTube channel and we keep all our webinar things on there. If you'd like to subscribe to that channel, so anytime we post, you get a notification on it. We've got a lot of stuff that's going to be put on there the next 2 months, especially, that could be of value.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I really appreciate everybody's time. Knew this one was be a little bit shorter. Again, if anybody has any questions about training or anything like that, you got the Sales One email, but also tech support 330-861-0760. Option 2 is technical support. Please don't hesitate to call us. There are no stupid questions. We're here to help. So please reach out whenever you have any questions, concerns, feedback. We love it. We're trying to make it better. Other than that, I think I'll let everybody go. Have a
Do
great
have
week. And
we have
Larry.
a hand raised there.
Sorry about that, Larry. Let me make sure that you can talk. You are able to talk, Larry. Go ahead.
So we made a change based on our chemical application where we're now putting the pre-soak through the rain bar.
Yes, sir.
However, I'm getting a little um, residual foam from that rain bar coming during the spot free cycle. So what's your suggestion on how I should overcome that?
Is it dripping the whole time or just during the spot free? And you're just
Well, it's
noticing because it's still dripping at the spot
yeah,
free?
you just notice it because it's still dripping at the spot free, but
Yeah.
it's actually bubbling coming out of the rain bar still.
Gotcha. M Most likely, assuming that everything's working correctly, I would have you probably change the diaphragm on the foaming rain arch first, just to make sure it's not something stuck, leaving it partially open. But then we would actually have to check for the plumbing at the foam rain bar. We had a small little batch when we got those rain bars from Mr. Foamers. They were actually like cracked, so it would break the seal and let those things drain out. There's a little baffle in there that's supposed to prevent that from happening. So I would want to check first just with the diaphragm, just to make sure it's not stuck open by accident. Little small little guy behind the solenoid valve. Then after that, we would look at your foam bar, and then if we find any kind of cracks or something with that, we would obviously cover that under warranty.
Okay.
But
All
there
right.
was a small little. I thought we had gotten through it. I'll be perfectly honest, but I want to say about a year ago, maybe, a small batch where they were cracked, and because they had a small crack where they Mr. Foamer glues them together, it was letting it just kind of like when you crack anything else, it just let everything drain out. So
And September 11th will be a year, so I'm about right at that time
it's
frame.
probably it. You might not have been using it in that way and not catching it. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
double check the diaphragm first. If we're still seeing that, let us know. We'll probably get you out a fresh bar.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Scott.
Oh, no problem at all. Give a couple more minutes just in case anybody else has anything. Well, again, everybody, I really do appreciate your time. Hopefully, you guys all have a great weekend and we wash some cars. Other than that, thanks again from Pettit, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.